Welcome to our audience to another episode of Write Your Book with God. I am so blessed today to have beautiful author Deryn van der Tang.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I found out that you are an artist and an author at the same time, and I am so curious to hear more about your story, yourself, how your books came to be, how you wrote them together with Papa God. So you may just share anything that is burning inside your heart for people to know.
When I was a child, I had always known that I was an artist. I don't think I was ever in doubt about that from the time I was 5 years old. I started my first job as a geological cartographer. And I was living in the middle of Africa in a country that doesn't exist anymore. It was Rhodesia. And, I had this love for drawing, for maps and everything like that. But, things didn't go right in our lives at that time in history with the political situation. And it ended up that most of us from that generation dispersed over the rest of the globe. My marriage broke down at that time, and I moved to South Africa. And I lived there quite happily for a number of years. I remarried, and unfortunately my late husband got ill and died. So that didn't really help. My kids had grown up and left the country to find their way in the world. And my daughter had landed up in Australia, my one son in America, and my other son in England. So this makes it rather difficult for a mom to grow old by herself in Africa. And I had to make a plan of where I was going to retire. And through the grace of God and even an angelic appearance, I ended up changing my whole life and became a manager at a retirement home in England. But then I still had to come to my retirement part, and I didn't know what I was going to do. But my son in the USA, he sponsored me to come to America. And during that time, I was really praying to God, what can I do? I'm still an artist. I'm still a writer. I said, do a writing course. Get yourself skilled for your next stage in life, which I did. But when I came to the idea of writing a book, it was only during COVID when I was exiled in Australia for lockdown, and I joined a group who really encouraged me to participate in a group book during the COVID time, which was a book of devotions on Africa. And so I did that, and I really felt I enjoyed the process, and I enjoyed working with a group of writers. I wasn't just doing things on my own anymore. And so that was sort of the beginning of the journey. I also had some coaching about disability, because as an artist, you're very quiet. You sit in the background, you do your painting, and you don't bother with people. So, to become an author, you do have to project yourself a bit, which is very uncomfortable for me. And then this lady, she actually gave me the idea about using all my skills. She says, well, tell me all your life. And I told her I was a geological cartographer. She says, but that's ideal. You can write a book based on a map. And so that's what I did. I drew the map, started to write the book. At the end of the day, this book here really is a book about transitions, how difficult it is. We all go through major life transitions. I think there will be many people who've been through a divorce, and probably even more who've been widowed, and other people who have lost important people in their lives. But also, it's not only that. I lost my country of birth, and you've had your roots cut off, and your whole cohort and generation that grew up with you and were at school with you are now scattered over the face of the globe. And then, I've moved countries. I had to learn to function in Afrikaans when I was living in South Africa. When I went to England, it was relearning another culture. Although I was born English speaking, doesn't mean to say that I was actually English, because I'm African. And so there was a whole lot of other cultural things you have to learn. So just moving, from one place to another in different cultures is also a transition, because you can be so easily misunderstood, or you misunderstand people. And so I've had to really try and live a life of faith, being led by his Spirit, and you have to be open to all these new experiences.
Yeah.
And so the book ends up by living a life of faith, because it is taking you on this journey where you have to work your way through your losses.
Yeah.
And you get to this place where you forgive people and you forgive circumstances and you forgive yourself. You've got to have a vision. So I've got a mountain there on my map, the lookout point, your land of new dreams. And I've got all the places that you need to go through on this map. If you've got financial problems, I've got can't keep afloat bay. Then I've got a whole lot of information and help on trying to find your way financially. All the aspects of life. So we've got emotional life we have to deal with. We have a mental life we have to deal with. And we have a physical life we have to deal with. And we have a spiritual life. And you have to integrate all of those so that they all function together. And that's what I try to do. I've got questions at the end of each chapter that helps you to sort of identify each of those 4 aspects of your life and how to get on with each of them. That's basically what my book is about. In all of our experiences, we do have those nuggets of gold that we can share with others. Yeah. And then how do we make those nuggets of gold useful and helpful to them? And so I put you through the refinery and various other places, and then you get another call. This is your vision to go really far with God. It's a life of faith. And so then you have got to travel to a new place, which is your land of new dreams. And there we've got Conception Bay, where you are conceiving these new ideas. And you have to go through the desert, because that's where you are really tested and tried to see whether that's going to happen and whether you have got the message right and everything you're going to do until you reach your land of new dreams. So that's really what my book's about.
I love how you visualize that with the map. It reminds me a little bit of John Bunyan, Pilgrim's Progress. He's also taking people on a journey, and I love how your book is called The Journey.
Probably took me about 7 years to really do this, because I had planned the map long before I actually had written the book.
Yes.
And I had written the book in stages, and between stages life happens. And it was only after I'd got into writing groups that I actually found I had the courage and the help and the support to actually continue the journey. And I think that's what God also wants for us, isn't it? That we can't do everything on our own. Besides Him, He gives us other companions along the way, just like John Bunyan had in his Pilgrim's Progress.
There's so many distractions that we can fall into, and especially as creatives, we are so open and easily inspired. So I had that vision just before Easter, reading the story of Jesus sitting there around the table with his disciples. And John was leaning in so close that he could even ask Jesus, "Who is it who betrayed you?" And he would tell him. And I thought, wow, what about gathering 11 people around his banquet table and following his call together? Like each of us feels the call to write, but to form an inner circle group around Jesus and write together. I had an inkling that there would be something about that. And then I remembered the inklings in the 20th century who would gather and even find God in the fellowship, like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis did. And I thought, okay, God, 11 people, 11 days. 11 means transition. So I had the vision of just going on a balloon ride with Jesus to relieve all the distractions below, all the physical hardships, all the technological hardships, all the whatever's coming against us. As we go on a balloon ride, the land starts opening up in front of us. Writing is a little bit like this. It's going on a journey. Writing a book takes a long time, but it's not just the end product that you hold in your hands. It's the journey that's so precious. Meeting with God, writing with Him, and it creates such momentum as we gather together and do this alongside each other. If you have to be there a certain time each day to do this alongside each other, we step into the basket, we loosen the strings. Actually, on a balloon ride, people don't know where they're going. Isn't that a good place to be? That the Holy Spirit wind gets to take us.
I love your idea about the balloon ride, because it reminded me of a trip I had in Australia. I wasn't in a balloon, but I was in one of those capsules over the Karunda forest, right up in the sky, way at the top of the mountain, right above the forest. And I was alone in this thing, and suddenly it jerked and stood still and swayed above the forest. I thought, oh my gosh, if this thing falls in the forest, no one will ever find me. Suddenly there was such a peace in that capsule, and an author says, I'm with you. And by the way, while you're here, you'll never get this opportunity to draw the top of a forest again. So you might as well just get out your sketchbook and draw the top of it.
He is the best travel companion.
Yeah.
He won't leave our side. We might lose them. We might have a breakup with someone and lose the relationship, but he never rejects us. He never lets go of us. Well, we forget about his presence at times when life gets busy and we lose awareness, but he's there just waiting for us to turn around and see him again. And I love how he reminded you of that capsule. Yeah. So how did the story end?
Oh, well, eventually it started again and wobbled around. We got down to the bottom and I was okay. Spiritually, you have to really know that God is with you on the journey. That is, if you're going to think you're going to do this on your own, it's not going to happen. You won't get the inspiration. And mentally, you have to prepare yourself. It's going to be a long, hard, uphill journey. It's a slog up that mountain to get there. It really is. You've got to learn the skills and the technology and everything. And emotionally, you have to be able to deal with the disappointments because they're going to come. As a first-time author, it's very difficult to make an impact. And you've got to learn a whole lot of new skills like marketing, which as an artist is the last thing that you actually want to do. Make sure you get enough exercise and sleep well and eat well. Take your break. You can't expect too much from yourself. You have to do it with other people. You have to have the encouragement and help that you need along the way.
I like that. As you put the vision out of that climbing up the mountain, it made me remember once you're up there, this view opens up. And now you can be proud you finished your book, even if there's still a lot of marketing to do, but you have achieved it. And you have learned all the things that you've just described. The next time it will be faster. And this book is out there now. And it's in Papa's control.
That's right.
It will outlast you. Like once he has upgraded us to heaven, people will still be able to find it. Thank you so much. What a joy to have you on this call with me today. And there was so much we can glean from your story. And it's also given me hope. Like, yes, it may take 7 years, but you got there.
Oh, thank you so much, Joanna. You're such a lovely person.
Thank you so much.
It's been lovely chatting to you.
Yes, to you too.
And God bless you and all your work you're doing.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.